Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to have once again Webster Jr. visiting from Canada. And today we want to discuss the whole matter of climate change. The world is abuzz with different periods of climate change. Webster, what is climate change?
Okay, so climate change is basically described as the oscillation within the temperature throughout the world that affects weather events such as droughts, such as hurricanes, such as flooding, such as severe weather conditions, such as tornadoes and other things. Now, these phenomenons have occurred throughout history. The question that a lot of people have a challenge with is it all caused by man, or is some of it caused by man, or is it such a negligible effect by man, and the prescriptions are necessary or unnecessary?
Um, the word that has been going around is that we can do something to mitigate so that we will end up by having less severe hurricanes, less flooding. How is this possible within a small island state?
You have to look at such a topic as climate change as a worldwide phenomenon and not a local phenomenon. Because anything that's released by any country throughout the world impacts all countries throughout the world. So a country like Jamaica probably might be to 1% or less than 1% compared to China, that 30% compared to United States at 5%. So any kind of direct action would require a worldwide effort and a worldwide response.
Are you suggesting that to really make an impact that is going to be meaningful, it requires more than what we do in Jamaica?
Yes, unfortunately. So, but there is okay. So there is efforts to reduce the temperature. Okay, that's one that is probably not very feasible in a country such as Jamaica. But then there are mitigation steps that can be done in a country like Jamaica. Okay, one of the things that we're susceptible to is hurricanes, and the hurricanes would affect us via wind, high winds, and surges. We can improve our drainage system to help reduce the possibility of flooding. We can build seawalls along the coast to actually mitigate some of the more severe flooding. We can, if it's not possible for certain, you know, areas near the coast to withstand a minor level of flooding or winds, we can, move some areas further inland. So there are steps that can be done to mitigate the most severe consequences. Um, we can strengthen our building codes so that roofs of houses are less likely to blow off, improve the construction material so that houses are better able to withstand high wind. So there are things that we can do within Jamaica to mitigate it, even though we might not be able to put in measures that might help reduce the temperature.
Are you suggesting, for instance, that it is not within our competence to really do anything to reduce the ferocity of a Category 5 hurricane?
Okay, so let's take a step back. Okay, so one of the things that a lot of the climate researchers are saying is that CO2 emissions are responsible for increase in temperature. Okay, and a lot of the CO2 emissions is impacted by burning fossil fuel. So if you look at the way that the world is right now, US probably accounts for maybe 5 to 7%, maybe it's 10%. Canada, maybe 5%. China, 30%, Russia, 20%, Africa and some other countries in the Middle East, maybe another 10%. So if it was just the West, which I would say Europe, United States, Canada, it would not be enough to reduce the worldwide temperature.
Um, in other words, it's really a global problem. By ourselves, we can only do so much, but
Exactly.
whatever we do certainly will not be enough to really have a significant impact.
No, and if you want to have a significant impact, you've got to involve countries such as China, such as India, such as those two main countries. Uh, Now, the question is, they're going through their industrialization and industrial development, just the same way that North America and Western Europe did 100 years ago. Now, is it fair to ask them to forego their industrialization and development, or or would it be fair to ask them to do that when we have the ability and opportunity to do it for ourselves? Because I'm pretty sure that they want to have a better life and a better way of living for their population. So who are we to say that they can't do that? So that is the issue.
Is the issue one that can be described as moving from development to underdevelopment? In other words, if we were to put brakes on some of the things which are required, some of the things which are regarded as progress, um, this would lead to a major problem.
Okay, so let's look at what the prescription is, okay? One is that they want to reduce the fossil fuel usage,
Yeah.
okay? So in terms of providing power, most of it comes from coal, most of it comes there's a certain amount that comes from nuclear, there's a certain amount that comes from gas turbines, and then you have wind, uh, you might have hydro. The most stable type of energy generation right now with the technology we have is fossil fuel. And if we just remove the fossil fuels right now, we wouldn't have enough supply of power generation electricity to actually power the entire population, which would basically mean reducing our standard of living. Are we prepared to reduce our standard of living to accommodate these goals? I'm not sure we are.
Question: how dependent would you say is the use of fossil fuels of the line of aeroplanes, the expansion of the internet, the all the um, advancements which are taking place around us? How dependent are they on fossil fuels?
Okay, so most of the fossil fuel, basically car transport, airplane transport. If we reduce the amount of fossil fuel, we might not be able to fly as frequently. We might have to put a serious regulation on the amount of times you can fly, where you can drive. You might not be able to use your car on a certain amount of times per week. So you're talking about a lot of convenient restrictions in the way of life, in the way of travel.
The satellites which are circling the Earth and on which we depend for so many things, are they also powered by fossil fuel?
The satellites, I believe, have I think they have like a battery, like an electronic battery, and a small nuclear power generation. So it keeps them going.
What about the electric cars? Because one school of thought is that we need to dispense with, gas-driven cars, move to electric cars, because this ensures less dependence on fossil fuel.
One of the things with electric cars, and one of the problems that they have been um, trying to solve since they were introduced, one is mileage. They have a battery and you have to plug it in and charge it. A lot of times the charging time is excessive. You're talking about 45 minutes to an hour to several hours to get a fully charged battery. And the mileage that you get varies. In the worst case, maybe 100 miles, maybe 120 miles. In the best case, maybe 240, 260. With a gas power car, you could fill it up within 5 minutes, and then you would have maybe 300 and something miles coverage to go. Now the other thing is with an electric car, it's going to depend on the electric grid. Yes. Because the electric grid is going to have to power the charging station, or a lot of these charging stations now they actually have a diesel generator attached to it. It's burning diesel fuel, which defeats the purpose of the electric car.
In other words, the process of charging the vehicle
Yes.
is further dependent on fossil fuel.
Yes, there are two other things. The other issue too are the size of the batteries. Uh, it makes the cars heavier, which basically means a bigger effect on the roads of the cars that are driving them.
Well, so it's really not a panacea, uh, really sort of say overnight that we ought to try to dispense with fossil fuels. Then what would then be your recommendation?
So,
A gradual introduction,
so,
or just forget about it?
so the recommendation would be a mixed use of different type of technologies. Okay, so fossil fuel is needed right now, but in the meantime, we can further develop the technology for electric vehicles, electric, uh, you know, because maybe we might reach a certain point whereby we can have a long enough charge so it doesn't have to charge as frequently as it is now.
In conclusion, then you would say that uh, some form of mitigation is necessary. We cannot be careless
Right.
in treating the environment in which we live. But you're also saying that we cannot at the moment completely dispense with fossil fuel.
Right.
It is crucial for our development.
Yes.
It is crucial for our survival.
Exactly.
And if we dispense a bit with it, we will probably be moving from development into on this.
Yeah, we've been basically deindustrializing our society.
Well, so thank you very much for that very, very prudent response to the question. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Webster Edwards, presently visiting us here in Jamaica from Canada. Thank you, Webster. Thank you.